Good morning, and welcome to Morning Cereal. Okay, good morning, and welcome to Monday. And I hope the 4th was with you yesterday. That's a nod to Star Wars if you didn't realize it. But why look back? Today is Cinco de Mayo, which celebrates Mexico's victory over the Second French Empire at the Battle of Puebla in 1862. So cheers, enjoy the celebrations and the margaritas. But back to Star Wars. Today is Revenge of the Fifth Day. Now, I don't have time to explain that to you if you don't already get it. But if you know, you know. And we're going to stick with the Star Wars theme here, okay? Our quote today is a well-known movie quote emphasizing the importance of commitment and decisive action rather than just making an attempt. Today's quote is from Jedi Master Yoda. He gave us the sage advice to
do or do not. There is no try.
Wow, that Yoda, he is so wise. And making a guest appearance on Morning Cereal, what an honor. Thanks, Yoda. Well, today's news, facts, and birthdays are for May 5th. And we're going to start way back in 1891 when on this date, Music Hall, which is now Carnegie Hall, it opened up in New York City. And Tchaikovsky was the guest conductor of the New York Music Society of Orchestra on that night. Then we're only going to move 2 years up the timeline to 1893, when on this date, that's when the Panic of 1893 caused a large crash on the New York Stock Exchange. I'd say we kind of know that feeling these days. Then in 1904, Cy Young, he pitched the first perfect game in quote-unquote modern baseball as the Boston Americans beat the Philadelphia Athletics 3-0. So, 2 comments, not sure that's super modern, and secondarily, if you're watching this on YouTube, I don't want to say, but these baseball players say they're such good athletes. I mean, Cy Young, I'll just leave that one alone for right now. So, moving on, lastly, in 1921, the perfume Chanel No. 5 was released by fashion designer Coco Chanel. And this scent is still available today, and it's considered one of the world's most iconic fragrances. Well, happy birthday if your birthday is today. You share a birthday with singer Chris Brown, he's 36, and singer Adele, she's 37. And the number 1 song on this date back in 1983 was Beat It by Michael Jackson. Now, when we talk about classic 80s songs, this is a full stop classic. And I actually find it really hard to believe that it came out in the early 80s. 1983 seems not that long ago, but a long time ago. But because this is such a generational song, I thought I might dive into it just a little bit more for perspective, okay? Beat It was the number 1 song 42 years ago, which is hard to believe. But 42 years before Michael's song Beat It was number 1, the number 1 song was in 1941 was I'll Be Seeing You by Frank Sinatra. That was the same year as World War II, the attack on Pearl Harbor, and Mount Rushmore was actually completed that same year. Wow, talk about the sands of time. Well, the music video was a huge hit. It helped usher in the MTV era. The song also had a bit of a bump due to the fact that Eddie Van Halen, who was huge at the time, he played the guitar solo on Beat It. As you probably know, the song won multiple Grammys, and it's one of the best-selling songs of all time. Okay, well, we're reading through one of the best-selling books of all time, and it's Stephen R. Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And we're in Covey's 2nd chapter, and we're going to finish it today, which is The 7 Habits, an overview. And this is where Covey has been discussing how important and influential habits are in our lives, with the habits being defined as the intersection between knowledge, skill, and desire. These habits, as we know, are in a maturity continuum. They consist of growing from dependence to independence to interdependence. And these habits can be and should be highly effective in your life if you use them properly and you implement them in your life. But you have to remain balanced with them, right? We talked about the production to production capability balance. That's the balance between the golden eggs and the goose that lays them. And recall, the goose is an asset, and Covey's talking about maintaining these assets that we have, right? Physical assets, financial assets, human assets. So that's a quick summary of probably the last couple weeks that we've been getting through this second chapter. So today we're going to finish up part 1 of the book, which is Paradigms and Principles, and we're going to finish up chapter 2 as well, which is the 7 Principles, an overview. So in these final 2 subchapters of chapter 2, Covey is pleading with the reader to not approach this book as just a good read and then to put it back on the shelf. So don't use it like a regular book, just to read and then be done with it. No, this book was written and it's designed to, quote, be a companion in the continual process of change and growth, end quote. The habits in this book are incremental, but they're not entirely linear, right? Meaning you don't have to master a habit before you can move on to the next one and then move on to the next one. But as you get better and you start maturing through the habits, you can go back to previous habits, right? To, quote, gain deeper levels of understanding and implementation and expand your knowledge, your skills, and your desires, end quote. So while making your way through this book, Covey also suggests that you should approach the material as though you're going to teach it or share it with someone else. And in doing so, it will help you expand your perspective of the material. You'll gain a deeper understanding, and it'll also increase your motivation. Here, Covey quotes Marilyn Ferguson, who said, quote, "No one can persuade another to change. Each of us guards a gate of change that can only be opened from the inside," end quote. And Covey asks the reader to open their gates for learning, to understand and live his principles. And in doing so, quote, "Your growth will be evolutionary, but the net effect will be revolutionary," end quote. Here's an example. The net effect of being open to change in the first 3 habits will be, quote, significantly increased self-confidence, knowing yourself in a deeper, more meaningful way, your nature, your deepest values, and your unique contribution capacity, end quote. And by living out Covey's principles, your, quote, sense of identity, integrity, control, and inner directedness will infuse you with both exhilaration and peace. You will define yourself from within, rather than by people's opinions or by comparisons to others, end quote. And lastly, if you open yourself up to this journey, Covey says you will, quote, discover and unleash both the desire and the resources to heal and rebuild important relationships that have deteriorated or even broken. And good relationships will improve. They'll become deeper and more solid, more creative, more adventuresome, end quote. So, understand that change and self-growth, they take time and they require patience. But Covey says, quote, self-growth is tender. It's holy ground. There is no greater investment, end quote. Finally, Thomas Paine said, quote, that which we obtain took easily, we esteem too lightly. It is dearness only which gives everything its value, end quote. All right, starting part 2 tomorrow. That's entitled Private Victory, and we jump headfirst into our first habit. So thanks for joining us today. Have fun and be safe celebrating Cinco de Mayo. We'll see you back here tomorrow, and have a fantastic day. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to the Morning Serial podcast on the One Life Live It channel. You can find more episodes and videos by visiting our YouTube channel and the website at Sean Inglis and at SeanInglis.com, where you can also follow our other podcasts, the Mr. and Mrs. Inglis podcast and the Life Happens podcast. In these other podcasts, we'll dive deeper into everyday issues, self-improvement and well-being, business and finance, and we welcome special guests too. So join us. It'll be a good time, I promise. Thanks again for listening. Have a fantastic day, and we'll see you tomorrow.